the end of time.
O'clock.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
You already talking about the victim's boobs.
I mean, come on. None of the worst.
Yeah,
Jesus Christ.
This I haven't seen it yet, but evidently one of the victims that this guy killed that we're going to talk about was was gifted.
I didn't notice.
She was evidently gifted to attract attention. But that's just the way it is with all these cases. Me and Jen were seeing one just the other day where it was up in North Carolina or South Carolina, little 17-year-old girl, little black girl, but she was just so cute, you know what I mean? She would just attract so much attention, vibrant personality. White dude tracked her down, killed her, raped and killed her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the dude that did it was fucking
scumbag,
spooky-looking scumbag, redneck.
Like
if you saw him in the street, you'd like run the other way screaming, honestly.
Yeah, he looked like one of them dudes from Hills Have Eyes.
He did. He looked a little bit.
Yeah, living in a little trailer and shit.
Because, we've been I've been, like, addicted to all those hometown homicide shows and stuff like that on HBO Max, so I've just been, like, sitting watching those. Yeah. So, I'm just fascinated by those.
Yeah, she followed him to his trailer for some reason. They had it on video.
That's what they suspect anyway, and they're not entirely sure. Yeah. They were maybe just going both in the wrong direction. There's a lot of shit that could happen. They don't know exactly.
Right, they don't know what happened. But she had nothing to do with that dude.
No.
This was like little black Barbie. You know what I mean? She had nothing to do with that fucking nasty ass redneck. I don't know what the fuck she was doing over at his property. He might have abducted her on the street. And they just couldn't have seen that, maybe.
Yeah, I kind of suspect that.
Something like that.
Because I don't think she would go with the dude that looked
I don't think so either, man. Because
I don't think anybody in their right mind would go with a dude that looked like that.
Yeah, his story was she came over to his place to buy weed.
I don't know. I'm not buying it.
I can't see any girl, 17-year-old, getting in that trailer.
No.
It was a little big trailer, and it was like fucking covered in mold and shit. Fucking.
Yeah.
No.
Even if she had driven up, even if she was going there to buy weed, and then as soon as I saw that trailer, I'd be like, nope, and I would just turn around and drive the fuck away.
Yep.
Not that I would go in the first place, but I just said, I would turn around.
She was something else.
Yeah.
Something else. He got her in there somehow. It was against her will, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I mean, I suspect as much. But yeah, like I said, that was one of the cases that we've been...
I forgot what the name of that case was. Her name was Alexis...
Murphy.
Alexis Murphy?
I think Murphy was her last name. And I think it was one of the Carolinas or Tennessee or...
Carolinas, I think.
Somewhere like that.
Yeah.
I don't remember what year it was. It was fairly recent. I think it was 2017 or something like that. But yeah, this case, Bryan Kohberger looks like the son of Count Chocula. He does a bit. And he wasn't convicted yet. No, he hasn't even gone on trial. His trial is actually not scheduled until August of 2025. So he's just awaiting trial at the moment. So I've been trying to keep up with all the shit. You guys, I even watched, because there's a bajillion like YouTube videos about this. And I even watched one with fucking Nancy Grace. And Nancy Grace annoys the piss out of me. So I was just kind of like, but at least it was like a round table so she didn't talk as much. But they were kind of talking about like some of the stuff that the defense was coming up with and some of the stuff the prosecution was coming up with. The weird thing about this case is that, obviously nobody knows if he's guilty or not. I suspect he probably is, but it's just kind of like, I don't know. So the weird thing about it though is there doesn't really seem to be that much of a motive, at least that they've discovered so far. It's just a really, really strange... I don't know. It's a really strange case. And Phantom pointed out this massacre was so brutal that the blood was leaking from the inside to the outside. Yeah, they were. If you see like the pictures on some of the documentaries, like there was blood actually leaking out the inside, like out of the front of the house. But yeah. So this was pretty fucking special. And like I said, it's kind of topical because this guy is still awaiting trial. We won't find out, because he's not going on trial until August of next year, of this year. So, we won't really know. And I don't know, maybe some more stuff will come out. I try to like read the newest shit about it. Mostly now it's kind of like legal wrangling about, you know, what they can present, what the defense can present, what the prosecution can present, and all that kind of stuff. I don't want to get too mired down in the details, but you know what I mean. I feel like a lot of people are probably following this, but maybe if you're not in the U.S., you know, it's not as big in other overseas. I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, this is kind of a big case, and this happened pretty recently. This just happened in late 2022. So, do you have anything else you'd like to get into before?
No, we can go ahead and get into this.
You just want to get into it?
Yeah.
We got somebody saying, I think it says, oh my God, I'm so blind. It says Papa, I think it says Papa or Papo77. Hello, all. This is my first live stream.
Oh, okay.
Well, welcome.
Yeah.
Welcome. But yeah, so if you've never been to a live, I mean, maybe you watched some of the ones we've done before, but hopefully we kind of try to stay on topic, but you know how we are. So it doesn't always work out.
It's just stream of consciousness.
We eventually get around. Like, I have notes and stuff, but it's just like sometimes, you know, we'll get distracted by one particular fact.
Well, here's the thing.
Go off on a fantasia.
If you really want to know about this case, you can jump on probably Wikipedia and fucking get it in 5 minutes. We're going to talk about the case and we're going to discuss it. We're going to discuss the details and shit. That's what the show is about. And it's just more entertaining to do it that way anyway. Besides, y'all are probably, you know, commuting, or you're trying to fall asleep or some shit like that. You know, it's always the same thing. I listen to fucking podcasts to go to sleep. So, we get sidetracked. But that's just how it is.
Well, and the thing about it, too, is that, you know, I've been researching this case for a few days, but you don't really know anything about it.
I don't know about it, no.
So it's like, it's kind of interesting to hear your take on it, like, as the shit unfolds.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah, Papo says, I've been watching a lot of your live streams, but not as they're live. Oh, okay. So you know how it goes. So you won't be like, hey, why are you like not talking about what you're supposed to be talking about? Yeah. But yeah, so Phantom was talking about one of the girls that was killed might have had a stalker, but they're not entirely sure about that.
You got any pictures of them you gonna show?
I don't have them like on here, but they're on the thumbnail.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Tammy says, allegedly, Tom and Jenny get sidetracked on the lives.
Yeah, it hasn't been proven in court.
If anyone ever wanted to take us to court for that, I'm not really sure what laws we're breaking at the moment. But plus we tend to drink a bit. Yeah. On these, so that doesn't help, I'm sure.
Yeah, you're encouraged to drink or at least fall asleep or something like that.
Or, you know, indulge in whatever chemical of your choice. Yeah,
just keep
we're not judging.
Just keep your hands off yourself, though. Okay, it's not that kind of show. We got another show for that.
Yeah, but we wouldn't know. We got another show for that. We wouldn't know what they were doing. It's okay. We can't. It's okay. We can't see you. Yeah. You can do whatever you want. But yeah. All right. So I guess we'll get into this, and like I said, as we go on, and I give you kind of the details of it. Little summary before we get super into the details, which probably most people know, but this happened November 13th of 2022, and there were 4 University of Idaho students, 3 of them female, 1 male, because one was a boyfriend and girlfriend, and they were all stabbed to death in their off-campus residence. Actually, 2 of them lived there, the other 2 didn't. Like, one of them used to live there, but, you know, she had moved out or whatever. Yeah. Now, so that happened. Now, about a month and a half later, a dude named Bryan Kohberger was arrested for the crimes, and he is now awaiting trial. They are actually seeking the death penalty because this was such a brutal case. They're not entirely sure exactly what the motive was. None of the women were sexually assaulted. There was no robbery, I don't think, or anything like that. It didn't appear that anything was missing. No forced entry, nothing like that. Looked like somebody just walked in, stabbed 4 people, and left for whatever reason.
Well, what's his name did something like that, except he also sexually assaulted him. Bundy.
Yeah.
Bundy went into that sorority house, remember? Got them all, one at a time, while they were asleep.
Yeah.
But he assaulted them before. But it sounds like something kind of like that, just kind of like a rage version, right? You just go and slaughter them and then run out.
Yeah. The
motive may have been vaguely sexual. It's just that he probably knew he couldn't perform.
I kind of suspect, because any kind of crime like this, particularly if it's a stabbing,
Yeah.
I usually feel like even if there's no sexual assault, like literal sexual assault,
It's in his
I always
mind.
kind of feel like, yeah, it's like a figurative, or like you said, he might be impotent, or he might
Yeah.
be like, he might have other kind of problems that would,
Yeah.
you know. And honestly, we were thinking about, we saw like another one of those, I think it's called Hometown Homicide, that
Yeah.
show. It's on HBO Max. And we saw another one with this girl. This was fucking horrible. This was a horrible case. This girl, she worked at a pool,
Yeah.
and they found, her dad found her, because they didn't know where she was, and they went
Yeah.
back to the pool where she was, and she was in the pool at the drain.
Yeah,
What do they call
beaten
that?
to death.
She was beaten. She'd been, well, it was attempted rape, and she was beaten to death, and it was like horrible. They didn't show the body, but they showed like the scene, and it was
Some
like
of her fingers were broken, her teeth were knocked out.
yeah, it was horrible. And like I said, her dad found her, and like
Yeah.
they interviewed him, and it was just like heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And when they found the dude, because these ones are generally solved, when they found the dude, he was another pool guy who I guess had driven past and saw her and thought she was pretty, and came up and like attempted to ask her out on a date, and she was basically like, nah, I don't really want to do that. And then he just trapped her
But she
in
had
the
a boyfriend too.
yeah, and she had a boyfriend.
Yeah.
But you know, this guy apparently wasn't taking no for an answer, and he tried to rape her, and then he told the police that he couldn't do it. So he
Couldn't
just
get it up, so he killed her
so
anyway.
he killed her instead.
There was another one. Remember, he abducted that woman, tried to rape her, but he couldn't.
So he took her to another house.
So he took her to another house
and then tried
took her
again,
to
and he
his
still
parents'
couldn't
house.
because his parents were home.
His parents were home. Took her to his parents' house. He had her in a truck, and I think it was about an hour or so away. Right?
I don't remember how far it was.
Gets her out, puts her in the parents' house. Tries again. He can't do it, so he kills her. But he was going to kill her anyway.
Yeah.
But, you know, so some of these dudes will just cut to the chase and just kill them.
Yeah.
There's a sexual drive.
Yeah. I suspect that might be
it's
the case
fantasy and shit.
here.
Yeah.
Although it seems like this happened really quickly.
Yeah.
Because which I'll get into like a little bit of the timeline and stuff like that. The stabbing must have happened like within 10-15 minutes.
Yeah.
So I don't really know. And there were other people in the house too who were not attacked.
Did they hear it?
I'll get into that.
Okay.
One of them did not, but the other one did kind of hear something. But then there was like, yeah, it's a weird fucking. It's a 3-story house, so there was there was like 4 people living in there.
Yeah.
Used to be 5, but then one of them had moved out. So yeah, so it was it's like off campus student housing. You know what I mean? So, but it's a 3-story house. So yeah, so this guy, whether he did it or not, we don't really know. I'll kind of lay out the case they have against him, which seems pretty solid, but I guess there could be extenuating circumstances. I'm not really sure. But so here we go. So the 4 victims' names were Madison Mogen, Xana Kernodle, both of them lived in the house, and then Kaylee Goncalves, and her boyfriend Ethan Chapin. Kaylee used to live in the house, but she'd moved out, but she was staying over at the house like after a party or for a party or something like that, and her boyfriend had stayed over. He didn't live there either. So there were also 2 other women who lived in the house, like other roommates, but they were not harmed. So on the night of November 12th, because this happened early morning hours of November 13th, 2022. So Ethan and Xana, I believe, they were at a party at a fraternity for about an hour. And then they got home about 1:45 in the morning-ish, like back to that house. And then the other 2 victims, who were Madison and Kaylee, they'd actually gone to a sports bar at around 10 p.m. And then they left there at about 1:30. And then they went to this food truck called the Grub Truck. Now, the Grub Truck was live streaming on Twitch. So you can actually see very clearly the 2 of them, hanging out. They're a little bit inebriated, but they don't look super drunk or anything like that. And they're just like ordering food and laughing and talking to the guy in the truck and everything like that. And they stand around for 10 minutes. There's a bunch of other people around. And then after 10 minutes, they get their food and they leave.
Who is this again?
The two of the victims, Madison and Kaylee.
Okay, it's 2 girls, yeah.
It's 2 girls.
Okay.
The other 2, like Xana and Ethan, were at a party. And then they went back to the house like a little bit later. But these 2 were out doing something else. They were at a sports bar.
What state was this again? I forgot.
What?
What state did this happen in again? I forgot.
Idaho.
Idaho, okay.
Idaho.
So, okay. They're in a private Idaho.
Yeah. And this was actually...
Not much happening there.
Well, actually, they said it was the first murder in this town, which is Moscow, Idaho, since 2015.
Yeah.
So it had been a while.
Safe area.
Yeah. It's a college town. You know what I mean? College students. And actually, the next town over, which is where the suspect is from, is also a college town because there's another college over there, too. So, yeah. So, like I said, there's very clear video of the 2 of them hanging out and getting food. And then they kind of go around the corner. And initially, I think the police said, oh, they got an Uber. But then later, they said, no, they got a ride from a friend or something like that. Because their house was only like a mile away. But they didn't drive because, they were drunk or whatever. So a friend of theirs, picked them up and took them back to the house. Now, according to the 2 girls who lived in the house but survived, all 4 of the, victims that were going to be victims were at home by 2 in the morning. Now, the 2 other girls had come home about an hour earlier. Now, weirdly, this was a detail that I saw brought up, and I was just like, I don't really know. I'm sure they probably investigated this, but they said here was a little bit of a weird thing. After Kaylee got home, she made 7 phone calls to her former boyfriend, none of which were answered, between about 2:30 and almost 3 in the morning. And then Madison called the same dude 3 times between about 2:45 and almost 3 o'clock. None of those were answered either. Police thought that was a little bit weird that both of these girls were calling the same dude a bunch of times. But I guess they investigated that dude because they thought, well, maybe he's a suspect or maybe they were calling him to come over or something like that. But they, I guess, cleared him from suspicion. But it's they just thought that was a little bit weird that they were calling him that he didn't answer. So I just thought it was kind of a strange detail because but the cops came out later and they said they didn't think that the person that they were calling had anything to do with the murders.
Some dude they were flirting with.
I guess, like I said, it was the former boyfriend of one of them, but then the other girl was calling him too, but a bunch of times, and he didn't pick up.
That doesn't mean anything.
No, I know.
At
they just thought
club,
that was
everybody's somebody's ex-boyfriend, and they all hang out.
No, I know that. I'm just saying. I thought it was
something
weird.
like that.
I thought it was weird that they'd both called him so many times, because they really had something to tell him.
Yeah, or they wanted to ask him something.
But he didn't pick up.
Right.
So I thought that was a little weird, but apparently it didn't.
Probably wanted to ask him something.
Yeah. Now, Xana ordered DoorDash, and that was delivered to the house at about 4 in the morning. Now, this was a no contact order, meaning they just left it by the front, they just knocked and left it by the front door, they didn't, open the door or anything like that. So that was reported that the DoorDash order was there. Now, initially, when it first happened, they thought that both the surviving roommates were in their beds asleep on the ground floor. Their bedrooms are on the ground floor. And that neither of them woke up, neither of them heard anything or saw anything or anything. But then later on, they found out that one of the roommates, one of them slept through the whole thing, evidently, and didn't hear or see a thing. But the second one said she actually wasn't sleeping on the ground floor. She was actually on the second floor, which was the same as Xana and Ethan were sleeping on, because that's where Xana's room was, on the second floor. And then she said that she was sleeping, but then she got woke up by what she thought was Kaylee in her 3rd floor bedroom playing with her dog. She kind of heard the dog yay, blah, 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 you know what I mean? That kind of noise. And then she said that she kind of was half asleep, but then she heard another roommate saying something there's someone here. But she didn't know which one it was. She said she thought it was Kaylee, but police said that might have been Xana. But they're not really sure because they know Xana was awake around that time because she was on TikTok at 4:12 a.m. So they knew that she was awake then, so it was maybe her talking. But they're not entirely sure. But so one of the roommates did kind of hear something. And then
This is 5 o'clock in the morning?
like about 4 o'clock in the morning.
Okay.
Because like I said, they'd all been to a party and they came home.
Right.
But, they're college students.
Yeah. They were at a party.
They'd been at a party and then so they're kind of staying up all night.
I'm just going to throw it out there. Somebody at that party saw them, followed them, or somebody saw them coming back and from the party and then went into the same house as they went into. Something like that. That was how Bundy did it. Bundy just said I think it was a sorority, wasn't it?
I think he was
just
yeah.
thinking, he just saw that sorority and fucking went, man, there's a lot of girls in there. And he just went up there and opened the door. It was open. Because so many of the sorority girls coming and going.
Yeah.
So he was just like, fuck it. And he dudes walk in and out of here all the time because they all got boyfriends.
Yeah.
So he walked around. People saw him walking around. He's walking from one room to the next, killing girls.
Yeah.
Silently. Yeah. Wow. So it's probably something like that. He saw him go in there and he just followed him.
Yeah, I mean, it could be. Like I said, we'll get into we'll get into it in a little bit. So then, the one surviving roommate that had heard the Kaylee playing with the dog and heard somebody say there's someone here, she said that she kind of, heard something, so she opened her bedroom door, and then she said she heard something that sounded a little bit like crying from Xana's room, and then there was a male voice that she didn't recognize saying, "It's okay, I'm going to help you." Now, there were actually security cameras, I believe, on the house next door, and they were only about 50 feet from Xana's bedroom. You know what I mean? It was they were pretty close together, the houses. And that camera picked up a whimpering sound, a big loud thud, and a dog barking, a bunch of times. And this was about 4:17 in the morning.
So he's in there by 4:17.
Yeah, because then the surviving roommate opened her door a third time and saw him. She said that he was wearing black clothes and he had a mask over his mouth and nose and he was walking toward her. She didn't recognize him. But he walked past her and then went out the sliding glass doors.
So that means it was personal.
And she said she just froze and was like, fuck that, and went back in her room. She didn't know that the people were dead upstairs. Yeah. She was just like, I don't know who the fuck that is, and I'm just going back in here. You know what I mean?
It means it was personal.
Well,
he targeted those ones, but not that girl. He
could
have killed her too.
Well, yeah, I'm not entirely sure if he saw her. I mean, okay. I guess he did. I'm not really sure what the layout of the house looked like exactly.
Yeah,
so I don't know if he actually saw her.
Maybe jump to the conclusion. We don't know if he saw her.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. He might have just
saw her. She might have just saw him and he didn't see her.
Yeah,
maybe.
I mean, it's possible.
Because you would think that if he looked at her and just passed her, he goes, fuck it, that means she wasn't targeted. It wasn't a generalized fucking attack. It was targeted, is what you would think.
I mean, I suspect that, but I'm not really sure who the target was, or
maybe they made somebody mad at the party.
What was going on? But like I said, the suspect, I don't think anyone thinks that he was at the same party that the victims were at.
Maybe everybody at the party is accounted for.
Because he doesn't. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they interviewed all those people because he didn't go to the same college as them. He went to a different one, in the next town over.
Right.
And he was older than them. He was a Ph.D. student, so he was 28. And they were all in their early 20s. So, and actually Ethan, the boyfriend of Xana, he was just a freshman, so he had just started out. So, yeah, they were all, between 20 and 22. So, the 4 victims on the second floor and third floor were brutally stabbed to death. All of them were in bed. None of them had been tied up or gagged or restrained in any way. They said that it was just a bloodbath. There was just blood all over the walls. It did appear that at least one of them had some defensive wounds. Maybe they woke up and tried to fight back, but the other ones not so much. So they're imagining that the dude just like snuck in and just started stabbing like pretty quietly before anybody realized what was going on, which sounds like it would be hard to have, but I don't think it is. I mean, if you're like pretty quiet, like people sleep pretty soundly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? For some reason, I just thought of that scene at the beginning of Terrifier 3 where the woman's sleeping and like Art the Clown comes in and just starts beating the shit out of her husband like right next to her, and she doesn't realize it for several minutes. Which, like I said, it doesn't sound like that's what would happen in real life, but if you were really, really asleep, I mean, you might go a few minutes before
if
you
you're
realize
young
what was
in a
going
party environment and there's people coming in and out of there, you might be able to, you know, sleep a little heavier, you know what I mean?
And I imagine that, like, at least the two girls that had been at the food truck,
yeah,
you know, they didn't look sloppy drunk or anything but you could tell they were a little bit tipsy. Like, they were a little bit inebriated, you know what I mean? Because they'd been to a sports bar, they'd been out that night, you know what I mean? So they just got food, but like I said, they didn't seem super drunk, but, you know, that's, yeah, when you drink, like, you sleep a little bit deeper, too, so that could have also been accounted for. So they found Madison and Kaylee in Madison's room, and which I believe is on the 3rd floor, and Xana and Ethan in Xana's room, which was on the 2nd floor. And nobody on the ground floor was harmed. Kaylee's dog was also unharmed. They found him on the 3rd floor, and he was okay. Now, here's something that some people have like been kind of questionable about, but I kind of get it. The 911 call did not come in until almost 11 the next morning. Now, I don't think anybody said it was either one of the roommates or one of their friends, because what happened was that the roommates, I think, this is kind of what I'm imagining. I think they were kind of afraid to go into the rooms. I don't know if they knew something really bad had happened, but they were just like, why aren't they up yet, or something like that. And maybe they were like afraid. So they called their friends, and some of their friends came over, and they said, oh, well, I think that, you know, Xana and Ethan, like, they must be unconscious, or like they won't wake up, or something like that.
Yeah. So
somebody, either one of the surviving roommates or one of their friends who had come over, called 911, but not till almost 11 in the morning. Actually, no, it was almost noon, I think. But it was late. And they didn't report murders. They reported unconscious person. That's what they reported. So I suspect that they did not look in the rooms. Like, they just kind of thought, well, maybe something's weird, and they decided to call. But I don't know. You know what I mean? But they haven't said, as far as I know, like, who it was that called 911. But they said whoever called is not a suspect, so, you know. So the cops show up. The door of the house was open, unlocked. No sign of forced entry. There was no damage in the home. Nothing had been stolen, or, you know, just nothing was in disarray or anything like that. And so the cops go in there, and obviously they find the scene. You know, all 4 of them were dead. And they, so they said this happened sometime between 4 in the morning and 4:25. Because, like I said, the DoorDash driver was there at 4, like, dropping the food off. Like, they knew that happened. And, you know, somebody heard the dog barking and stuff like that at 4:17. So they imagine it happened, like, right around that time. So, as I said, I said all their names. Like I said, they're all 20, 21 years old. And so basically, like, after that, you know, everyone was fucking horrified, right? Like, the university canceled all the classes, you know, and the cops came out at first and said, I guess they always kind of say this so everyone doesn't fucking freak out, you know what I mean? But they always say, oh, you know, no one's at risk in the community or anything like that. But then, like, a few days later, they came out and said, oh, well, okay, we can't really say that, you know what I mean? So, yeah.
CB brings up something I want to address. He said that it's kind of a shame when all the blonde girls get all the attention when they come up dead or missing. They really jump on that, try to figure out who did that. And, you know, that they don't really, that he said everybody should be the same, but that's not how they prioritize. Well, people are people, all right? And these agencies are all run by people. And people are weird, man. They run on instinct, and they just run on the subconscious. People treat you based upon how you look.
Yeah, even if they don't mean to.
Even if they don't mean to. Fucking, like since I got big, people treat me totally differently, especially men. But it's not necessarily blonde. What they're looking for, man, is pretty. If you're pretty, they're gonna be on it. Like I just said, that Alexis girl, she was black, but she was like black Barbie. You know what I mean? Just super pretty. And FBI was on that in 24 hours, trying to figure out where she went. Which is, look, man, fucking let's be honest. Pretty young women are considered to be society's high value people. They're reproductive. Okay, they can have children. When they're young and pretty like that, all the guys in law enforcement go, "Oh, that's terrible," because they're seeing an idealized female, their daughters, or you know what I mean, or a girl that they would have wanted to go out with, and like that motherfucker went after one of the good ones. You know what I mean? So they're gonna double down on that. And another thing is that good looking people tend to be of middle class at least. Or, you know, they have some good looking working class people too, but you could tell. If it's some chick in a trailer park, you know what I mean? Fucking just by the way she's dressed, you go, well, yeah, a lot of those come up missing. So they're kind of hardened to that, you know? They'll look for them, but there's lots of those. So it's kind of like triage. With the way doctors triage wounded.
Yeah.
There's definitely like an unconscious classism, sexism, and prettyism when it comes to victimology. Victim.
And I will say, because I've written about a lot of cases, because I was just going over my new Faceless Villain book today, going through some of the cases and stuff, and there are a lot of cases, particularly in Canada, of Native women, Indigenous women, going missing, getting raped and murdered.
Yeah.
As a proportion of the population of Canada, they are way overrepresented in rape and murder crimes and kidnappings and shit like that. And it's almost always a white dude that does
probably.
it. Yeah, so it's just kind of... And a lot of them are never found.
Yeah.
But the problem is that a lot of the shit is not solved, and the Native community is saying that's because they don't really give a shit about them.
I think it's harder to solve those cases because in that particular... those girls are kind of transient. And they're in very remote areas. When I mean,
a lot of them aren't. Like, they just, they just live in regular houses and stuff like that. But
some of them are in remote areas.
Yeah.
And it's hard to do a criminal investigation in a remote area. There's not much evidence. They can just vanish.
Yeah.
They don't even know where the crime scene is.
It just always makes me really sad because I write about a bunch of crimes and, women that are sex workers or drug addicts or something like that. Like,
hard.
They do try to solve the shit. It's not just like, fuck her or whatever, but they do try to solve it. But it's just like after a while, they're just like, they don't really seem to care as much. Like, I don't think the law enforcement doesn't care as much. The media doesn't care.
Yeah.
For sure.
And law enforcement's trying to prioritize and triage.
Yeah.
Things. They're going, the hookers, they're just getting killed. Yeah. That happens. We're gonna catch the dude who did it.
That happens a lot.
But this is hard to catch. We're gonna wait for it.
It is harder.
He's gonna have to make a mistake, and then we'll catch him. Because those girls get into at least 10 cars a day with dudes that they don't know. There's no connection with them.
Yeah, and any one of them.
Any one of them could have done it. And so they're just.
It's much harder. Like I said, I get that. Like,
and a lot of times
makes it much harder.
When it's a street prostitute, they're not sure what day she came up missing. A lot of times they're not quite sure, so they don't really know the time of death. Yeah. So they wouldn't know where to start. They don't know who all their clients were.
Sometimes she'll be missing a few days and nobody really saw her. But, you know what I mean?
Yeah. A lot of them girls don't show up at work on time.
Well, that's
why they got them pimps trying to get out there. You better get my money. You know what I mean? But not all of them have pimps.
Well, sometimes
it depends on where they are.
Sometimes their pimps kill them too.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. But pimp is kind of like the boyfriend a lot of times.
Yeah.
Yeah. He has the role of boyfriend about half the time, and boyfriends kill girlfriends all the time, and
that's very common. Well, there's a reason why. It's funny because, like I said, I watch a lot of true crime documentaries and stuff, and sometimes. Like when if a woman goes missing or gets murdered and they are grilling the husband or the boyfriend, and sometimes the dude will get mad, but the law enforcement's like, look, 95% of the time, that's who it is.
Yeah.
It's either that guy or it's like an ex-boyfriend.
Yeah.
So it's like we always have to eliminate those first because that's usually who does it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not always, obviously. Some people are just, you know, some women are sadly like kidnapped and murdered by random ass motherfuckers.
Yeah.
But
a lot harder when it's a random ass motherfucker.
yeah, but not I'm not sure if the exact percentage, but the overwhelming majority of times it's husband, boyfriend, ex-boyfriend.
I think the dude that
coworker.
I think the dude that did this was a random ass motherfucker.
It's possible.
I think he saw him go in there and he decided he could kill him.
I'm not really sure, but like I said, get more details first
Okay.
before you start jumping off on that.
Sounds like something a random dude would do.
It did, yeah, it does kind of sound like that. CB said, I just Googled this guy, and he looks like the type of killer that masturbates to his mom or sister, or both. I mean, allegedly. I don't really know. Like I said, I don't know the dude, but he's, I don't know. The only thing that I've heard him say was that he's looking forward to being exonerated. Like when he goes to trial.
Yeah, he said he didn't do it, yeah.
So, you know.
He's saying he just didn't do it, huh? Okay, well, maybe he didn't do it. Maybe they got the wrong guy. We'll see.
It's possible.
I don't have all the information.
I don't know. Like I said, I'll lay it out for you what they got,
right.
and then obviously I'm not a cop, so I don't have like all the information, but I'll try to break it down. You know what I mean? So yeah. So like I said, they canceled most of the classes, and actually Thanksgiving break was coming up, so a lot of students were like, "Fuck this shit," and they just like went early. You know what I mean? So there was that. Now, there's a thing. Okay, and I actually didn't know about this until somebody commented on the teaser for this, like at 3:30 this afternoon, and said, "Are you going to talk about that fake psychic on TikTok that that accused somebody of this?" And I was like, "What's that all about?" Because I hadn't heard that much about that. So I looked it up, and I thought I would add this in here because the cops were going off. I mean, as with any high-profile true crime case, you're going to get like people crawling out of the woodwork with their own theories, and some of those theories are going to be crazy. You know what I mean? That's just kind of, people are trying to steer engagement to their channels or whatever, so it's just kind of like they're going to come up with some outlandish shit, or they're just nuts and they're coming up with some crazy fucking shit. So apparently, because I was like, so here's a little, this is kind of related, but I kind of wanted to mention this. So there's this psychic, quote unquote, named Ashley Gillard, I guess is how you pronounce her last name. She's from Texas, and she reads tarot. And she has a big channel, big following on TikTok. And her theory about this, when it happened, was that a University of Idaho history professor, Rebecca Schofield, a woman, was actually having an affair with one of the female victims and orchestrated the murder to cover it up. There is, it should go without saying, but I'm going to say it anyway. There is absolutely no evidence to corroborate any of this. And the woman on TikTok didn't even really say that there was. She just said that she came up with it because of her own spiritual acuity and her investigative skills and her intuitive abilities.
Okay.
And she has doubled down on the shit too. So yeah, so she says that this professor, a history professor at the school, was having an affair. She started about 10 days after the murder occurred doing this on her TikTok channel. Or TikTok.
Now, what is she again?
She's a psychic.
She's a psychic. Okay.
In Texas.
Okay. Does she have a track record?
Of getting shit right?
Yeah.
Does any psychic?
No.
No.
Not that I know of.
So I'd be shocked if this one did. She reads tarot.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So she's probably coming up with all kind of stupid shit.
Yeah.
So she said her spiritual acuity and her tarot cards told her that this female history professor at the school was having an affair with Kaylee and got Kaylee's ex-boyfriend to kill her and her friends. Note that there is absolutely no evidence that this professor even knows Kaylee.
That shit sounds really unlikely.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
Rebecca Schofield, the professor, obviously she's like, now every time you Google my name, it comes up in this context.
Yeah,
so thanks a lot, bitch.
Said she did it. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So she started, like, her attorney advisor will send her like cease and desist letters. So she did. She's like, please take off like all the TikTok videos that you made, like accusing me, blah, blah, blah. But the psychic said no and doubled down. Like, she put more videos up there after like accusing her of the shit.
You're trying to get more followers.
Yeah.
More subscribers.
And so then like, obviously, the next step, Rebecca Schofield had to sue her for defamation, and then the psychic tried to countersue.
Yeah.
And I think they're still sorting it all out. Although her TikTok channel has been taken down at this stage.
She's taking the Sylvia Brown route, where you just keep doubling down on oh no,
She's gonna get her stupid psychic ass sued off if she doesn't shut her fucking face.
Sylvia Brown, man, biggest fucking fraud.
I mean, they're all frauds, but it's just like she was like particularly egregious because she very specifically like and I guess a lot of psychic do this, but like, you know, specifically goes after like grieving people that are vulnerable. Yeah. And it's just like, you know, spew their bullshit at them, and it's just like really shitty.
Sylvia Brown wasn't even a very good one because she didn't even do that. She didn't even fucking interact much with it. She would just go, "Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. Okay, yeah, I'm seeing that. No, that person's dead.
Oh, they're dead.
Yeah, that person. Oh no, I'm seeing.
Oh honey, they're dead.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, she was, and she told one. She said that a couple girls, one girl was dead or two girls were dead. It turned out no, that fucking dude had him in that house. For fucking
that Ariel
years.
Castro case.
And,
she said that girl was dead.
Said that girl was dead. She wasn't dead. She fucking.
And I think she said that little kid that boy that got kidnapped. She said he was dead too. I think, and they found him later alive too.
Yeah.
Like he was also like had been kidnapped and was stuck in some creep's house.
It's some creep's house.
Yeah. So like I said, it does happen because like I said, we were watching some true crime stuff, and they always do like, you know, this person is missing, and obviously 99% of the time, if the person was abducted, or, you know, they went missing and there was no reason for them to go missing, within a day or two, they're most likely dead. But, because Tom's saying about the families and stuff, it's like, well, they've got to know that she's dead. It's like, why are they still saying, it's like, oh, we still hope we find her alive. But I said, well, I think they do know that, but there is a tiny infinitesimal chance, because it has happened before, that somebody's been found much later and they were alive. They were just being kept by some weirdo.
The pattern,
but it's very rare.
The pattern with that usually is it's a kid.
Yeah,
a guy will abduct a kid and keep a kid and raise the kid. Then the kid's fucking 15, 16. Then next time you see him, you know what I mean? Fucking, that'll happen. But usually, if it's an adult or a teenage woman, 17-year-old girl, no, because too hard to keep her under wraps for the average dude.
Well, I kind of feel like even when it's a kid, I mean, 95 again. I'm just pulling this number out of my ass, but 95% of the time, if a kid or a woman or somebody is abducted, they usually kill them not long after they're abducted. Yeah.
When they're done with them,
as soon as they're done doing whatever they wanted to do in the first place.
Although, no, I gotta go back and look at statistics. I think most of the kids that are abducted, are found pretty quick.
Yeah, but most kids that are abducted are not abducted by strangers. They're usually abducted by family members or something like that. So it's just, you know. So it's usually stranger abduction is quite rare. It does happen, obviously, but it's much rarer than
I'd like to see what the numbers are.
Or something.
If it's stranger abduction of a child, how many of them result in a fatality? Is it 50-50? Or is it 75% or 90% of them that they kill? It may be pretty low. They might just release a lot of them. You just don't hear about it.
Maybe not. I'm not sure. I'd have to look it up. I don't really know. Yeah, American Military said, Tom, that's what happened to Steven Stainer. That's who I was thinking of. Steven Stainer. He got, I think that was Sylvia Brown that said that he was dead, but he wasn't. They found him alive.
Yeah.
I actually wanted to do a show about that because the same guy that took him had another kid, too. And he kidnapped this other one. And they found the other one, like, pretty much right away, but then they found this other kid that he'd had for a long time.
And had a German dude who was keeping his own daughter, and then the children he was having with his daughter in the underground fucking...
We did a show about that, didn't we?
Yeah, that crazy motherfucker.
Oh, that was messed up.
And they had the one dude that fucking had the 3 or 4 black girls down inside that dungeon, where he'd lift up a concrete slab in his garage using a winch, and you could talk to him down in there. He'd go in there and have sex with them, I think sometimes, mostly just talk to him.
I don't remember that.
One of them, I forgot what that guy's name is. He had like 3 of them. He was an overweight dude, white dude. This is like 70s or 80s.
Now I'm kind of curious. I have to look
One of them died. He pulled her out of there, and then processed her and turned her into food and fed that one to the other ones.
Jesus Christ. I don't remember that.
Yeah. Remember that one? Yeah. We had to do a show on that one. Yeah.
Well, remind me.
Okay.
Because it's like, I have to look that up.
They got him out of there, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think only killed one. But he had some of them down in there for years, living in a concrete square room that had a couch in it and I think a bed. and he could talk to him from a hole in the ceiling. And when he was done talking to him, he'd lower the damn slab down over it so nobody knew that they were in there. I think it had power in there too. And watching
Jesus
TV, I
Christ,
think.
man. If I ever get abducted by some freak like that,
Yeah.
if I can't kill him myself, I'm just gonna off myself. I'm not
Yeah,
putting
and
up
all
with
the
that
girls that
bullshit.
he had were all mentally challenged girls. They were handicapped. They weren't normal.
Oh, so he targeted
particularly
like
real low
vulnerable-
IQ, handicapped
Special.
girls.
That's great.
Because they were easier to
Great.
control.
Man, there are some really
Yeah.
fucked up people in the world. Really fucked up.
He was a white dude. He was targeting the black girls. Basically mentally retarded black girls. Because he said that people didn't care about him. That's what he said. They wouldn't come looking for him.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna have to look that up.
Yeah,
we might have to do a show about.
I read
that.
about that one a long time ago.
That sounds really messed up.
Late 80s,
And I don't remember
early 90s.
hearing about that.
Yeah.
So I definitely will look.
If somebody remembers the name, you can drop that in the comment
Yeah,
section.
because then I can write it down.
Let me
But
write it
otherwise,
down.
if I remember, I'll Google it. I could probably find it.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean?
He was a white dude, and you had 3 or 4 black girls down inside a damn dungeon. And I think you get to it. He had it in his garage, and he had a concrete slab, and it would just fit in with all the other slabs. And he'd roll I think it was an engine hoist, and it had a like an eye or a circle, a metal fucking eye, and he could lift the fucking that concrete block out of there. And he'd sit up there and fucking talk to him, look down the hole and talk to him and stuff, feed him. Sometimes he'd go down there and have sex with him. They'd come back out. I think he'd go down there and have sex with him. Either he'd bring him up. I don't remember. It's been a long time.
Yeah, Phantom asked if we did a show about that because it sounds familiar.
No.
I would have thought.
I don't think we did a
would
show
have
on it.
remembered that if we'd done a show. About
Yeah,
that.
well, one of them died, and he processed her as food and fed him to the other ones. And I don't think he told him. I think he ended up told him later, like a long time later.
Oh, by the way,
Yeah, you ate her. Yeah,
you ate your friend there.
Yeah,
That's nice.
they weren't friends. They hated each other.
Well,
When some of them were crazy and shit, fucking, they were in hell down in there.
that's fucking horrible. Like I
Yeah.
said, some people are just the fucking worst.
Yeah.
So yeah. So they start the investigation. Obviously, you got state police, you got the Moscow police. They bring in the FBI on it as well because it was a particularly heinous crime. So they do the autopsies. Obviously, like all of the victims died of multiple stab wounds, fatal wounds being in the chest, and they thought it was probably the same knife. They're like, might have been, because they were still leaving open the possibility that it might have been more than one perpetrator, even though the other roommate only saw one person, but that doesn't mean there wasn't more than one. But they thought it was a fixed blade knife, and if there was more than one knife, then they were of a similar kind. So, as I said earlier, at least one of the victims had defensive wounds, meaning they had awakened and tried to fend off the person. But as far as I know, like the other ones didn't, or just had minor ones, so they were sleeping. None of the victims had been sexually assaulted. There didn't really seem to be any evidence of that at all. And none of them were restrained in any way. Now, they did not find the knife, although they did find a knife sheath, which will be an important part of the investigation going on. Now, the surviving roommate that saw the dude described him as about 5'10". She said not very muscular, but athletically built and had bushy eyebrows. Because obviously she only saw the upper part of his face, because the bottom part of his face had a mask over it. So at this point, obviously they're asking for any tips and everything. I think they ended up getting like 15,000 different tips or something like that. And they were also operating under the assumption that this was a targeted attack, but they weren't really sure if the house was the target or if somebody in it was a target, and if somebody in it was a target, which one it was. You know what I mean? Because it wasn't super clear. So during one of the press conferences that they had, like about 10 days after the murders, one of the tips had said that one of the victims, Kaylee, did have a stalker. Now, they did look into this possibility, but they weren't really able to verify this claim one way or the other. Nobody's saying that she didn't. They just said they couldn't find like any hard evidence of that, at least at the time of the press conference. Now, after they fielded all of these tips, they start honing in on at what the time was 22,000 Hyundai Elantras, because someone had seen one at the around the house, like at the time of the murders. Now, at first, they said this was a 5th generation Hyundai Elantra, white or light colored, probably between a 2011 and a 2013 model. Now, there was the camera in the area around the house had picked up a video of this Elantra, like, driving around the house, like 2 or 3 times, like making a pass. And then they saw the same car driving away from the neighborhood at 4:20 a.m. at a high rate of speed. So I believe the car circled around. I saw like a visual timeline where they kind of showed like the route. So this car, like between about 3:30 in the morning and a little past 4 in the morning, drove around the house, because the house was kind of like this, and then there was like a street that kind of circled around it a little bit, and it drove past one time and then came back and drove past another time and then drove past another time, and then at 4:20 it like booked out of the neighborhood, this white Elantra, or light colored is what they said at the time. So while they were going through all of these tips about these cars, they started investigating this particular car, which was a white Elantra, which belonged to a 28-year-old Ph.D. candidate named Bryan Kohberger. Now, he did not live in Moscow. He actually lived in Pullman, Washington, which is about 8-10 miles from Moscow. And he was going to school at a college there. So he wasn't going to the University of Idaho like the victims were. Now, this car, this white Elantra, him and his dad were driving this car. And it should be noted that even though the cops said they were looking for a white or light colored Elantra between 2011 and 2013, I believe that Kohberger's Elantra was a 2015. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but I think his was a 2015, so it was slightly newer. So Kohberger was driving with his dad. They were driving across country, I think for a Thanksgiving holiday. So they were driving from Washington State to Pennsylvania. Now, during this drive, Kohberger was driving, and he got pulled over 2 times. I believe both times in Indiana, at least one time by Indiana, but I think it was by 2 different law enforcement agencies. Like, I think once it was the state police and once it was somebody else. But, like, within, like, a 5 or 10 minute period. He got pulled over twice. At least one of the times was for tailgating, or, like, following too close. And I saw the, what do you call it? The chest cam thing, the police cam?
Yeah.
Of the pullover, the body cam.
Right.
Thank you. That's what I was trying to think of.
Chest cam.
I was like, the
chest
thing.
cam is what the pervs have to fucking take pictures of some other girls, other people's chests.
They just put it right here. It's just like,
chest cam, just looking like that. Yeah,
that's what.
Yeah, real famous in Russia.
Yeah. But yeah, but there's the cop wasn't mean to them or anything like that, because I think what happened was because he was pulled over 2 times in such a short period of time. Like, some people thought that because he was already, like, a person of interest in the University of Idaho murders, that the FBI had actually, like, advised these law enforcement agencies to, like, pull him over and check him out, but they say that's not the case. Whether that's true or not, I don't really know, but they say, no, that's not the case. It just happened that he got pulled over by 2 different law enforcement agencies within a short time period for tailgating. Now, like I said, the cop seemed very friendly. The dad was in the passenger seat, and he didn't give him a ticket or anything like that. He just said, hey, don't drive so close or whatever, and then they went on their way. So they were driving all the way to Pennsylvania. Now, so then they pulled, the cops pulled cell phone data. And they noted that on the night of the murders, Bryan Kohberger's phone was no longer connecting to the network at 2:47 a.m. And that was in Pullman, Washington, where he lived. Meaning, either the battery died or he turned it off or whatever. And then it came back on at 4:48 in the morning near Blaine, Ohio, which is near U.S. Highway 58, which is just south of Moscow. So he turned off the phone when he was near his residence in Pullman, Washington, which, like I said, only 8 or 10 miles from where the murders happened. And then the phone was off from about 2 hours. And then it came back on when he was kind of going away from Moscow, where the murders happened. This cell phone data also showed that his phone was pinging off a cell tower near the victim's residence at about 5 a.m. About 5 hours, or about 9 a.m. rather, 5 hours after the killings, about 9 a.m. So it's almost like he came back, like, to see what was going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, nobody had called 911 at that point. They didn't call until, like, a couple hours later. But he came by at 9 a.m., or at least his cell phone pinged off a tower.
Wanted to see if
near there.
If the cops were on it yet.
That's what they're assuming.
Yeah.
They also saw that his phone pinged on a cell phone tower near that house at least 12 times between June of 2022 and the night of the murders.
He was stalking somebody.
So, again, that's what they were assuming, that he was in that area. I mean, that doesn't mean he was in the house, but it was just pinging on a cell phone tower near there, and he didn't live there.
Maybe he passed by there a lot.
Maybe.
And,
I don't really know.
And kept seeing girls go in there.
Maybe. But I'm not really sure. Like, it seemed like, I don't know if it's a place that he would have been driving. I'm assuming not, because they think it's suspicious. So I'm guessing it's not a place that he would have driven in the regular course of his day, like on the way to class or on the way to work or whatever.
How many in total girls lived in that house?
I believe 4 girls lived in the house. Okay. Now, the 4 that were murdered, like I said, 2 of them lived in the house.
Yeah.
2 of the ones that lived in the house lived.
Yeah.
The other girl used to live in the house but had moved out, but she was staying at the house with her boyfriend. The boyfriend didn't live there either.
How many guys lived in that house?
Nobody.
That's why he was there.
Yeah.
That's why he was there.
The guy was there just because it was on his boyfriend.
Yeah.
And he was sleeping over.
He knew a bunch of girls lived in that house. And he kept passing by and looking at it and seeing them. That kind of deal.
But yeah, he did seem to be in that area a lot in the months prior to the murders. Like, or at least his cell phone was. You know what I mean? Which means he probably was too. Now, when they did, because like I said, they never found, as far as I know, they have not found the murder weapon, the knife. That could be anywhere. However, at the scene, they did find a tan knife sheath, like a leather sheath. And they were able to obtain touch DNA off of this sheath. It was a partial DNA profile, not a full one.
My boy Oscar's there. What's up, Oscar?
Hey, what's up? Yes, this story is an absolute trip. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is fucking crazy. So they just got a partial profile off of this sheath that was left. I believe it was left on Madison's bed. So I guess, like, the killer left it behind.
Yeah.
Now, they also found 2 other unidentified male DNA. Although the thing about it is that could have been, other boyfriends or other friends of theirs. That could have been lots of other people, you know what I mean? So, I don't know. But because they weren't thinking that was suspicious. I don't really know. But this touch DNA that they found on this knife sheath, they did a Golden State Killer and put it into, like, a public genealogy database. And they got a partial match to somebody that had a familial connection to Bryan Kohberger. I believe it was, like, his dad or something like that. Because what they did, again, like they did with the Golden State Killer, they went and, like, dug some garbage out of the Kohberger house in Pennsylvania and tested that for DNA, and there was a partial match. So they said, okay, well, whoever left the DNA on this sheath is probably related to somebody that lives in this house with this garbage. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm saying. So that's how they did that. So before they arrested Bryan Kohberger, they usually do this if they're the suspect. They put him under surveillance for a little while. Now, he didn't do anything super sketchy. I don't know if he knew that the cops were watching him or not. But they actually watched him outside because he was staying with his parents, like, for the holidays. So he was in Pennsylvania, like, all the way across the country. But they put him under surveillance in Pennsylvania. And the only weird things they saw him doing, which I guess it's kind of weird, but it's only weird, like, in the light of you think that he may have murdered 4 people. But they said that they would see him several times, and he had surgical gloves on, and he would put trash bags in the neighbors' garbage cans, which they thought was a little odd. They said they saw him doing that on multiple occasions.
With surgical gloves on.
With gloves on, which they thought was kind of
weird.
strange. Yeah.
Trying to hide his fingerprints, or he thinks what he's throwing away is toxic. But he doesn't want to throw it in his garbage.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah, that was kind of weird.
He's
They thought
afraid-
it was.
may-
They thought it was kind of weird too.
Maybe he thought people were going through the garbage and going through his garbage, so he
Well,
put it in
they
somebody
were.
else. So he put it in
He was
somebody else.
right.
He put it in somebody else's garbage.
They were.
Yeah.
That's where they got the DNA shit from before. But that might have been why. But like I said, that in itself is kind of suspicious because if you were innocent, you wouldn't care
Right, that's what he's doing.
because you don't have anything to hide, right?
Okay, so yeah, he's putting all his bio waste. You know what I mean? He's trying to contain it and put it in somebody else's garbage so they can't get his DNA.
Yeah. Even though they were watching him, so they're probably like. Although maybe he thinks if he puts it in somebody else's trash can, like they can't get it, or you can't prove that it was his or whatever. I don't really know.
I don't know.
But,
he's not really thinking it.
Because that's the thing. I'm not sure if this is a national law. I think it might be now. But if you throw something away, you've abandoned it. They can take it. That's not your shit anymore. So if they want to get your DNA and you won't give it to them, they're like, well, fuck you. We're just going to wait until you have some garbage out in front. We'll just take it out of your fucking garbage. You know what I mean? And that's what they did in this case. They did that in the Golden State Killer case, too. That's how they caught his stupid ass. So they also noticed that he cleaned the shit out of his car. Which, you know, again, not super suspicious if you are not a murderer, because people do clean their cars sometimes. But
He thought he may have contaminated his car.
in
with
light
drugs.
of what just happened,
He thought he got blood in the car.
maybe a little suspicious.
Probably,
you know?
yeah.
They also got a search warrant for his house, and they found a pistol.
Mm-hmm.
They found a knife. They don't think it was the murder weapon. And a black face mask.
Right.
They also found some ID cards. I don't know if they were his or someone else's. But they were inside a glove in a box.
Huh.
Which, again, doesn't mean you murdered somebody, but it is a little fishy. A little fishy. I mean, I don't have anything weird like that in my house. So,
Damn.
you know. Just saying. So at last, they're like, okay, we think we have enough to get him. So they bring in the SWAT team and the Pennsylvania State Police. And they arrested him on December 30th at his parents' house in Pennsylvania. They said when they found him, he was in the kitchen of his parents' house, and he had the surgical gloves on again, and he was putting trash into separate Ziploc bags. Which, again, that's what he was doing, like when they busted in and arrested him. Again, that just seems kind of weird. I mean, maybe he's OCD. I don't really know. So, who the fuck is this guy? You might be asking, that they fucking arrested. So, he was originally from Pennsylvania and graduated from high school in 2013. And he later went on to get an associate's degree in psychology in 2018. And then worked as a security guard for a little while. And then he went on to get a BA and then later an MA in criminal justice in Pennsylvania. So again, he's one of those guys that it seems like a lot of people, a lot of serial killer type people or people that do this kind of stuff, a lot of them have an interest in law enforcement. It does seem. Not all of them, but it does seem like it comes up a lot. You know what I mean? And this guy did too. So he had actually graduated with the MA in criminal justice in Pennsylvania. And then in 2022, only a few months before the murders, he moved out to Washington State because he was going to go to Washington State University to get his Ph.D. In criminology. Now, he was also so he was a doctoral student at the time of the crimes and had finished his first semester. And he'd also been a teaching assistant. Interestingly, though, only a couple of weeks before the murders, he had been to a meeting with other faculty members where they didn't want him to be a teaching assistant anymore because they said, then this was in their paperwork, like why they were not letting him be a teaching assistant anymore, said it was based on his unsatisfactory performance as a teaching assistant, including his failure to meet the norms of professional behavior. They said that he was actually really sexist and like really like kind of an asshole like toward the female students.
Yeah.
As well as female faculty. So yeah, he was that kind of motherfucker. Now,
he was a woman hater.
Yeah, the He-Man woman haters club.
He was a He-Man woman hater.
The He-Man woman hater. I always think of that like every time.
That's a good. Man, makes me want to see the Little Rascals again.
I know. We went off on like a whole Little Rascals tangent like a couple years back. We were like, "What?"
It's all on YouTube.
Yeah, it's all on YouTube.
It's all
we were
on
like
YouTube.
watching.
Yeah, some of the shit's upscaled.
Yeah,
So
it actually
looks a lot better. It looks real
looks
good,
pretty
yeah.
good.
Fucking Stymie, Buckwheat.
Although Spanky's my
Spanky,
favorite. Spanky's
yeah.
my favorite.
Man, those are and you know what? They held up. You'd watch them.
They did.
They were still funny.
They're still funny.
Yeah, yeah.
I thought they were funny.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah. Darla.
Sometimes you see shit from back then and you're just like, what? I don't get it. But
Yeah,
like,
you still get it.
But those are still funny.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say, here's what's weird about this, though, is that it's not entirely clear how well or even if Bryan Kohberger knew any of the victims. Now, it was allegedly, reportedly, maybe, later discovered that he had, allegedly, messaged one of the women he killed on Instagram multiple times, but she never answered him.
Yeah, he might have got butthurt about that.
There was also, allegedly, and you'll know why I'm saying that in a minute, at least one photo of one of the female victims in his... They said photo roll, so I'm assuming that they meant his photos on Instagram, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Because that's what they were talking about. They were talking about Instagram.
Weird.
Now, he allegedly followed both Madison and Kaylee on Instagram and had liked a bunch of Madison's pictures. Now, some people have said that it's not really clear if this was actually that dude's real account. Like, I'm sure there's kind of some way of figuring that out, but they're not really sure. And it seems as though the prosecutor even said that there was no solid evidence that Bryan had been stalking any of them beforehand. I don't know. Here's the thing. Maybe not. But if it was true that he had messaged one of the girls on Instagram, if it was true that he was liking their photos, if it was true that he kept driving past their house for, a couple of months, like before the murders, that might not seem like stalking if the victim doesn't really know that he's doing it. But in his mind, he might have built up a relationship because some dudes do that. Like, they'll build up this whole imaginary, and the chick doesn't even know what the fuck's going on. She doesn't even know you from Adam, you know what I mean?
Phantom says that there was a lot of house parties at that house.
Yeah, so maybe it could be.
Maybe he knew that the house parties were going down in there, and he was trying to get invited.
And maybe he showed up there, and they were just kind of like, because well, you have big parties, and people bring other people, and you're just like, who the fuck's that? I don't know. I mean, we've had parties at our house where that happened. I'm like, who's that person? You know what I mean?
And the motherfuckers want to spend the night. You don't know. You can't stay here.
It's like, I don't... If it was somebody I knew, I wouldn't care. But it's just kind of like, if it was just somebody
Three dudes showed up pretending like they knew me. And they did know stuff about me, but I don't know how they knew that shit about me.
They weren't like super sketchy or anything. It was just kind of odd.
Yeah.
I think they just kind of heard about it from
They heard about it, I think,
friend
through
of
friends.
a friend.
And they knew a bunch of girls were going to be there.
So they just showed up.
They just showed up, yeah.
I mean, like I said, a lot of people... That was actually a really fun party.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, they didn't make it too bad of a mess.
No. Actually, I was shocked. Like, I got up the next day and I'm like, wow, it's surprisingly neat.
Yeah, the cats were freaked out. That was the only thing. And the fucking smoke alarm went off because the DJ were fucking his smoke machine and shit.
Yeah, but that's the only thing.
Yeah, we hit
But nobody complained. Nobody called the
DJ
cops.
from the club.
Yeah. Yeah, because he's a friend of
Yeah,
mine.
nobody fucking complained.
No.
Which that was pretty cool.
I thought that was pretty cool. We weren't that loud.
No.
I didn't think. And yeah, I was shocked that it's like, I guess that's what happens when you have like a bunch of goths and punks over to party. It's like they're very respectful. Like everybody took their dishes to the sink. Nobody left cans or bottles or anything. Nobody left anything around.
I had a whole Indian buffet made.
Yeah.
Fucking.
The only thing I had to clean up was like a couple dirty footprints, like because people were going out back to like smoke weed or whatever, and like sometimes they didn't wipe their feet, but that was it.
Yeah.
Like everybody put their dishes in the kitchen and everything.
Yeah. I had sag paneer.
It was shocking.
Sag paneer, and then I had the fucking no, it was mutton paneer, wasn't it?
I don't remember.
Which is peas and paneer. I think that's what I had, and then chicken korma.
Yeah.
Yeah. And rice.
Yeah.
And naan and shit. Yeah.
And then the vegan black metal chef came and he brought some.
He brought stuff too.
He brought some vegan dishes also.
Yeah.
Because he is also a chef.
Yeah.
So yeah, we had lots of food. We were just at the club on Friday night, and like our friends be like, "When are you having another party?" They still talk about that one, and that was like
yeah. Fucking Laura, pretty ass Laura said we need another party. I was like, okay. She messaged me. She says no rush, but if you need any help, I'll help.
Yeah.
I'll help. I'll buy food and stuff.
Yeah, we should.
So they want to have a new party. We got to get some more. We got to get the decorations done.
Yeah, that's first.
We need some art. We're ordering some good art. I made an order for art today.
Yeah.
3 wall hangings.
Oh, okay. That's
and then, but we need to get the place kind of hooked up a little bit better. Get that TV out there running.
Yeah, a little more furniture,
Yeah.
So we don't always
I think the furniture we were pretty good.
Yeah.
I think good enough for the party. We do this, and because dining room is good enough, and they all dine casual, so it's not really a big deal. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll do it.
Yeah.
We'll do it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Texas Ranger said, "I'm also think that MM, like Madison, was the target. The others were collateral damage because they were there and saw him." Mm-hmm. I kind of suspect that's probably what happened. I think 1 or 2 of the girls were probably the main target. Because I find it hard to believe that this was just I mean, it's possible that just some random motherfucker, like I said, like a Ted Bundy or something like that, just wandered in there. Or he'd driven past there before and said, "Ooh, pretty girls live there." Like, I'll have to come back to that situation.
That's what I think happened.
But I kind of feel like this might have been specifically targeted toward at least one of the girls, possibly 2 of them.
He knew that girl, knew where she lived. He liked her, and he liked the other ones in there too. And he got pissed off over time. They were having all those parties in that house, probably. And they were popular girls. He was probably trying to get in with them, and they rejected him. And he was, one of those. Oh, okay, you might, he said he was a he-man woman hater. So he probably ended up like the fucking what's his name, the most outstanding gentleman, most perfect gentleman,
Elliot Rodger.
Elliot Rodger. He's kind of like that. Elliot fucking.
That
Rodger.
fucking dude. Every time I watch those videos like about that guy, I'm like, man, it's too bad he's dead because I just want to go dig him up and punch him in the face again.
Elliot Rodger.
Christ.
He had
annoying
issues.
Motherfucker.
There was something wrong with that guy.
Yeah, no shit.
Yeah, I think he had some kind of weird autism or something. It was
like
sexual autism.
That's the thing, though. It's like just because people have autism, they don't fucking act like that.
No, well, there's
That
different,
dude's
different kinds of it.
I know, but that
think,
dude had some fucking he was.
Well, it was kind of like that Song Chu Chol or Korean shooter.
Yeah,
we
gotta do a show about that fucking.
We gotta do with his little video talking about he can't take these insults anymore. He thought everybody was fucking with him. So he goes down there with a 9mm and 22.
I said, that's a type. Like all these kind of dudes that do that kind of crap, like all this mass murder kind of shit.
He thought he was the center of attention.
Yeah, they always have this weird narcissistic kind of thing. Like everyone's fucking with them.
They're all talking about
even though nobody
they didn't know who he was.
Right, and it's possible. This is my theory. It's possible that the girls that lived at this house that got murdered, it's possible they even know this dude.
Yeah,
but he might have known them.
Yeah.
And he built up this big fucking thing.
It might have been something like
that. And then
that.
maybe he messaged one of them a couple times and she didn't say anything. Because look, if some random ass dude messages me on Instagram or something like that,
women don't answer.
I usually don't answer.
Yeah, women don't answer.
Because I'm like, who the fuck are you? And usually they don't say anything that, they just say, hey, sexy, or hey, or hi, or that's it. It's just kind of like, how am I supposed to... I don't know. It's not like they're trying to start a conversation, and it's just kind of like, that they have sketchy intentions. So it's like, why even waste your time? You know what I mean? Mm. So I kind of feel like it might have been a situation like that, where maybe he was obsessed with one or both or two of them, but they didn't even know he existed because why would they?
Sounds likely.
Because like they'd never seen him probably, or they didn't know who he was, and he had built this big thing up in his mind like, oh, they rejected me or whatever. I'm gonna go get him.
Yeah.
Because to me, it just seems like other than that, it's unusual for shit like this to be random like that. You know what I mean? It seems like there had to be a reason. I know there's not always, but it seems like in this case, it seems like there had to be.
I think what the image we're painting there is likely. He knew who they were. He was kind of obsessed with them. He wanted to get in with that crowd, and he messaged them, and they didn't know him, so she didn't respond. Look, this is something. I was on this fucking big discussion one time with this other streamer, she's a girl from Russia. And she mentioned that she was an English teacher. She mentioned that, if you want to meet, girls here, you just message them over social media, and that's how you meet them. And fucking being a German dude during the conversation is like, no, you get your ass blocked here. Because, in Germany too. Fucking, and she was astounded. She's like, really? And he goes, and fucking, I said, yeah, if you message an American woman on, and you don't have any connection with her or any of her friends, just out of the blue, she will block you.
Ignore you at the very least.
Usually block you, probably. And the dude from Germany says, yes, the German girls does exactly the same thing. If they don't know you, there's no connection or anything, and there's no reason, they just block you.
Yeah.
And the Russian chick was astounded. She's like, really? Well, how do you guys meet? And we were just like, clubs. And he goes, oh, there's no club culture here in Russia, is what she said. She says, clubs are just meat markets here. And I was like, okay.
Now, I have met people online that I dated. Yeah. But that was a different situation because we had mutual friends.
Mutual friends,
Like, I didn't know him, but I knew some people that knew him.
Yeah.
And then he didn't just text me, like, randomly. Yeah. Like, he was talking about something, or we were talking about something that we had in common.
Yeah.
And then we just started talking about other stuff, you know?
A real common one is fucking Jen's sitting here, and she gets a bunch of messages from every day from different dudes from Bangladesh or fucking India. She doesn't know these dudes, you know what I mean? She just fucking blocks them. And, for a while they were doing that to her. I don't know why. It had something to do with the algorithms.
I guess.
I think
it happens to everybody as, like,
yeah,
you just go through the cycle, and it's like, because suddenly you get, like, 500 friend requests, like, in 2 days or something.
I think they changed the algorithms, because there were other girls that were saying the same thing, that all of India was trying to talk their way up their skirts and shit. And I think there was a bunch of complaints. So they changed the algorithms that, like, if you're in India, you cannot see any Western females who aren't on your friend list.
Yeah.
That there's no connections. You know, you have to be connected to somebody.
Yeah, because that was real weird. Because I wasn't the only person that happened to.
It was happening to everybody, and it went on for about a month, and then it stopped.
It was totally weird.
You know, it has something to do with the algorithms. They changed the rules of who can see who.
Yeah.
And India couldn't be trusted with the internet, because all they did is just try to fucking talk to white girls on it.
Yeah, and I'm not really sure what they think.
And them bitches couldn't spell anyway.
I don't.
Bob's and Vagana. Remember that Bob's and Vagana. You ever heard that? That was a fucking meme.
Although a lot of white dudes can't spell either, so and English is their native language, so they don't have an excuse.
Bob's and Vagana was like they were ripping on a message that got famous. That some Indian dude sent us on white. I want to see your Bob's and Vagana.
Oh, okay.
Misspelled, yeah.
Boobs and vagina. I get it.
Yeah. Bob's and Vagana.
Okay, I'm gonna start using that.
Yeah.
I just never saw that meme. That's pretty funny though.
They made whole songs about it.
That's about the
fucking that real famous YouTuber, the guy who was PewDiePie. He made that famous. Bob's and Vagana.
Oh,
he had a whole song.
That's probably why I don't know about it. Because
he had a whole song about Bob's and Vagana.
I hate PewDiePie. So that's probably why I don't know about it. But
that dude was funny.
That I don't really get that. Well, like I said, I don't, because American dudes do it too, and I don't really understand like what they think they're gonna accomplish. And then here's the great thing is, like, sometimes it'll be like hi, and you don't answer.
Yes, they just keep saying hi.
And then they're like, fuck you, bitch, you're fat anyway, or some shit like that. And I'm just like, okay.
Yeah. Just block them. You block them. Yeah.
Like. And it's like they come from the same playbook. Like, it happens again and again. Yeah. And I'm just kind of like, I don't understand this.
Well, basic dude and basic bitch are built in very different ways. Basic bitch isn't interested. Okay, if she doesn't know you, there's no connection. You don't have any mental status, and she doesn't have anything built up in her mind about you. She's just not fucking interested. But basic dude, he just likes novelty. He'll talk to girls he don't know and never seen them before. I like how she looks. Let's talk to her.
Yeah.
You know, and he can't resist.
And then he has the audacity to think that you owe him attention because he thinks you're pretty.
Yeah. I like you, so therefore
you have to talk to me.
Yeah.
Because they get mad when you don't.
There's an inflated sense of fucking ego, partially, you know. But I think the internet
mind-boggling.
I think the internet has fucking basically beaten that out of the Western man, though. Now I don't think it's as bad as it was. There's internet rules now and like etiquette.
Yeah, I haven't got a dick pic in probably like a couple of years.
Yeah, dick pics were a thing to women. Yeah, women would get.
I didn't get millions of them, but I got a lot.
Yeah.
But I don't think I got.
And those dudes send that like you're gonna go, oh my god, that's amazing. What's your name? You know, that's not what's gonna happen.
See, I don't know if it's that or if they just get off on like pissing people off or you seeing it. I guess
both. Probably both.
You know, I usually just ignore it, but I know some girls would be like, oh look, it looks like a penis, only smaller. You know, or some shit like that.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh my god, I need tweezers.
Yeah, or some shit like that. And then they'll find you and kill you probably for insulting their
probably sending you a picture of somebody else's manhood. Probably sending you a picture of somebody else's.
You should like Google reverse image that. Like if I had time to do that, I would, because that's probably some other.
Yeah.
Peen. That's not even his penis. He probably was a micro penis, but you know, no hate if you got micro penis. I mean, you can't. But yeah, so I kind of feel like though. Again, we kind of went off on a tangent, but it's kind of related because I kind of feel like maybe I don't know the dude, but it just seems like this is giving me that vibe. Because otherwise, like I said, I know that there's random murders. I know that there's shit where there's like no motive, where somebody's like, hey, I just saw a house and I decided to go in and kill some people, and there wasn't any reason, like you didn't know them and stuff. But I don't feel like that's the case in this situation. So they arrest this motherfucker right on December 30th, so about a month and a half after the murders. And they charged him with 4 counts of first-degree murder and a felony count of burglary, even though I don't think he took anything from the apartment, so I don't really know what that was about. So we got a public defender, and then they actually extradited him because he was in Pennsylvania, so they extradited him back to Idaho, where they were going to try him. Now, he actually refused to enter a plea, so I didn't even know they could do this, but the judge put in a not guilty plea on his behalf because he wouldn't.
Yeah, what was he? He was facing first-degree murder, right?
4 counts of first-degree murder.
Yeah, in a lot of states,
and felony burglary.
In a lot of states, the defendant must put in a not guilty plea if he's facing the death penalty.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's what it is in Idaho. I'm not sure.
Because they have to adjudicate it because they want to execute you.
Right.
So they don't want somebody to go in there and go, and confess to it under a false confession. They got to prove that it actually happened and that he actually did it.
Yeah.
So the only way they can do that is if you plead not guilty. So it's probably one of the states where they automatically enter a plea of not guilty for you if it's a charge of first-degree murder.
Yeah,
and you're facing the death penalty.
Happened in this.
Probably what happened. And that's probably why he didn't plead, because he knew that they would have to do that.
Yeah. They also did. He was obviously denied bond.
Oh yeah, obvious.
And they also, because of the high profile of the case, they also filed a change of venue motion, which was granted. So the trial is actually going to be in Boise, Idaho, but it's not scheduled to start until August 11th of 2025, although the next hearing on the case is actually just in about a week or so on January 23rd. Yeah. Now, when they asked, I love this. So when they asked Bryan Kohberger, Texas Ranger brought this up a little bit earlier, and I said, yeah, I'm going to get to that in a little bit. When they asked him what his alibi was, he said that at the time of the murders, I feel like so many killers say this too, alleged. He said at the time of the murders, he was driving around by himself, looking at the moon and the stars.
Yeah, stargazing. Huh?
Out stargazing. Yeah. So here's the funny thing. I was watching like this Court TV special. Court TV is like all over this, and there's just like 40 million videos about it on YouTube.
He was just driving around.
So I watched some of them, and after Kohberger said that's what he was doing, he was just out driving by, like, stargazing by himself at the time the murders occurred, they had a guy from Court TV drive the route at the same time as he supposedly did that.
Yeah.
And he kind of called bullshit on it because he's like, look, the park that Kohberger said that he went to look at the stars closes at 10 p.m. and you can't get in there. And this was like at 4 a.m.
Right.
And he's like, and this park wouldn't really be that good for stargazing anyway because you can't see jack shit. Like, and he even like showed on the camera, and it's just like, oh, you couldn't see the sky or nothing. And the guy also pointed out, he's like, when his phone came back on, like the route that he was driving back supposedly, he's like, it was really isolated and stuff. And it's like, had he perhaps wanted to get rid of the murder weapon, the knife, which they have not found, it's like, wow, there was like ample places to do that. And they would never find it because it was like super, super remote. So there was that. Now, as I think Phantom mentioned earlier, they actually decided, the university decided to, they donated the house that they were living in, the victims, they donated it to the university, and the house was actually demolished in late 2023. And then they put, they're going to put a memorial like on the campus as well. And they also have scholarships and all of that. And all of the students were actually awarded posthumous degrees. Now, another thing that Court TV put up, and I thought this was kind of interesting. About 2 weeks ago, they put up a video about a home invasion that took place about a year before the murders in Pullman, Washington, which is where Kohberger lives, and is about 8-10 miles from the University of Idaho, like where the murders took place. Now, I think this was also student housing that this happened in. And one of the 4 people, the girl that was living in this house, she said that she woke up and there was a masked person standing at the end of her bed with a knife. Now, according to her roommate who was talking to the police, the roommate said that she kicked this person in the stomach, and I was like, damn girl, good for you. And the dude ran away. Now, the only problem, because people thought, when they went back and looked into it, they said, wow, that sounds kind of similar, and maybe it was the same dude. Maybe it was Kohberger, you know what I mean? Allegedly. Problem with that, though, is that this woman described him as fairly small. She said he was between 5'3" and 5'5", which is, kind of short for a dude. And Bryan Kohberger is 6 feet tall. Now, some people that don't think that Kohberger did the University of Idaho killings point out that the girl that survived, the roommate that saw him, said the dude was 5'10". But here's the thing. If I looked out my bedroom door and saw a dude in black and a mask leaving my house, obviously with nefarious intent, I don't know how tall that motherfucker is. You know what I mean? Taller than me. That's all I can say. And there's really only 2 inches difference between 5'10" and 6 feet. So, I kind of feel like that's kind of nitpicking. I'm not good at like judging people's height anyway. Like, look, I'm only 5'3", so if you're taller than me, you're taller than me. I don't know how tall that is. You know what I mean? So 5'10", 6 feet, that seems, But in this case, because she specifically said the dude was short, maybe this wasn't him, but it really does seem kind of coincidental that it's kind of the same thing. It's like the dude comes in the house and he's standing at the end of the bed with a knife. Thankfully in that case nobody got hurt because the girl kicked him in the fucking stomach, which I was like, yeah, good for her. But I don't know. But they were just speculating. That case I don't believe is active anymore, so I don't know. I don't assume they caught the guy, but they're not investigating it actively. So I don't know. They just thought that was interesting enough to bring up because it was so similar. So I'm not entirely sure. So what do they have against Bryan Kohberger? They have partial DNA on the knife sheath left at the murder scene, right? They have all the cell phone pings around the house, months prior to the murder and on the night of the murder. And they saw something that they think was his car, like it's on video. It was a white Elantra, driving away from the scene at about 4:20, which would have been right when the murderer was leaving, right? So they have that. they have the weird shit that he was doing when they had him under surveillance. The fact that he was cleaning his car, the weird shit he was doing with the garbage, all that kind of stuff. And allegedly, they have the thing about maybe how he was following them on Instagram and maybe like knew them, or maybe perhaps was obsessed with one or both of them. And like you said, maybe the other girl, Xana, and her boyfriend were just collateral damage because they were there. But like I said, it seemed weird. He must not have seen the other two roommates. Because he came in on the ground floor. It was a 3-story house.
Yeah.
And they said there were 2 bedrooms on each floor. And I'm assuming... So he just killed the people on the 2nd floor and the 3rd floor. The people on the ground floor were fine.
Well, he's probably freaked out. So after he did all that, it was probably easy to escape his fucking notice if it was dark and you weren't moving. Maybe he just rushed by, trying to get the fuck out of there.
Maybe so. And maybe he didn't see her. Maybe she was just kind of peeking out like that, and he was just like... You know, maybe he was amped up.
Yeah.
And he didn't notice.
Probably stunned, you know. He probably his first kills.
Maybe so, because it really does seem like... I don't know. It does kind of seem like he hasn't done this kind of thing before.
Right.
Because sometimes I see some crimes, like I said, I watch a lot of true crime stuff, and some of the crimes on there, I'm like, that motherfucker's done something before. They just haven't caught him.
Because he starts off hardcore.
They haven't caught him. Yeah, and I'm like, that's very rare to start off with. Like, you know, the one that we saw about that dude that killed that girl in the pool house.
Yeah.
I was like, I bet that dude's done some shit before.
Yeah.
And they just haven't caught him.
Wasn't his first one. Right.
I don't think that was his first one, because that was, like, brutal.
All right, before I forget, just go ahead and like, share, and subscribe, people. And just want to remind you that super chats are active. We haven't got a single super chat this day on this show.
Super chat.
Yeah, because Zach's not here. Zach fucking...
Yeah, where is Zach?
I haven't seen Zach.
That's weird. He's usually here.
Yeah, Zach pays us.
He's usually here.
Yeah, he's a paying customer. But, you know, we got subscribers in there, too. You know, people from Patreon. Yeah.
Yeah, we do have a Patreon.
And
we also have YouTube membership.
Yeah. But if you want to buy Jen a drink for her hard work, then fucking be much appreciated.
Because I had to listen to Nancy Grace for you guys.
Yeah. Right.
Although, honestly, I didn't watch the whole thing. Because even though there was other people on there talking and what they were saying was interesting, she just kept interjecting with it. I'm just like, oh my god, shut your fucking face. She just like annoys the fuck out of me. I cannot stand her. So it's like I can't watch anything that she's on. She just makes me want to hit her.
Yeah, where is she from? Nancy Grace.
I don't know.
She's just from television, right?
Yeah.
That's a television person.
Yeah, she's on all of those. She's on like Court TV.
Court TV, yeah.
You know, on all those kind of true crime shows and stuff like that. And she just like, I don't know.
She's like television.
She just makes me want to punch her.
Cleopatra Jones.
No, not really, because she's kind of like, I don't know what.
Oh, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, James.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Case over in 1.5 hours and started in 20 minutes. Is Tom sick?
No, not yet.
I know. Well, yeah, that's what I mean. It's just kind of like, yeah. But no, what it is, she's always like, she has that real exaggerated outrage type of thing, which I can't stand. And she's always like really condescending.
Yeah, they're
like when she talks, like she's like smarter than everybody.
Yeah.
And I can't stand that. Yeah. I can't stand like listening to people like that. It just makes me want to punch them in the mouth. So I really cannot stand her. So most of the other Court TV stuff was fine. I watched like there was a couple 48 hours that they did about it, and then ABC News did a thing where they did like a visual timeline, like where they showed where the car was and like, you know, where he was at certain times, like according to his cell phone and everything like that. To me, like I said, innocent until proven guilty, blah de blah. But it does seem like, I don't know. I was watching this other video of, it was either a British dude or an Australian dude. I didn't really listen to it all that long because he was kind of annoying me too. People annoy me. But he was kind of operating under the assumption that Kohberger didn't do it and that he was being railroaded. And he's alleging that there are like all these other suspects that they're not looking at, but I don't really know. I don't really see that they're ignoring any other suspects. It really does seem like this guy, if indeed, and I think the defense is going to argue that the cell phone data isn't correct, or there was some kind of errors or something like that. So I don't know. I just kind of feel like if the cell phone data is correct, if the DNA is correct, if all of that is legit, then I don't really see how it could be anybody else. But I don't know. Like I said, it's going to be a long time before he goes to trial. So who knows, like, what'll come out before that. But I'd be interested to know what the motive was, because I'm sure there was one. I don't think it was random. I think he had a thing for one of those girls. And he just decided he just fucking snapped, I guess. And maybe, because they said, too, that 2 weeks prior, you know, as I mentioned before, like 2 weeks prior to the murders, like they kicked him out from being a teacher's assistant. He still went to class and everything. They didn't kick him out of school. They just didn't want him to be a teaching assistant anymore because he was kind of being an asshole, like, to the women.
Yeah.
So that might have been a trigger also. Because a lot of times when dudes do crimes like this, like whether it's something like this or like a mass shooting kind of thing, there's always like some kind of a trigger or a couple of triggers that happen. Like they lose their job or their wife leaves them or some shit like that. And then they just like, I can't take it anymore. Like the world is against me. I have to punish people. You know what I mean? So I always kind of feel like maybe that was a contributing factor too, perhaps. Mm. I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know.
You don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah, James said he wanted to kill someone, only he knows why. Honestly, I kind of hope that he says if indeed he was the one that did it, because I'm kind of curious. I think a lot of people are curious. I kind of feel like that's why so many people are following this case and there's so much stuff on court TV about it, because it's like, it seems like he didn't even, and I know this is going to sound fucked up to say, but it's like he didn't even rape them.
He knew they were in there. He wanted to be in there and partying with those people. He knew that they had regular fucking shit going down. There were hot girls in there. He tried to get with one of them, tried to talk to her on the internet. She blew him off. And he's like, fuck these bitches. You know what I mean? I'll never fucking... Fucking one day it just fucking boils over and he goes, they're in there. He fucking goes in there and fucking kills them.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Phantom said maybe he just wanted to be famous in the realm of true crime and put his criminal justice skills to the test. Maybe that's what it was. I mean, maybe he did kind of have a thing for one of the girls, and he's just like, man, I want it, because he was a criminology major. He was going for a Ph.D. in criminology.
I think he knew who Ted Bundy was, and fucking, and he's gonna go, man, this is kind of like the sorority.
I'm gonna do
situation. I'm gonna do some shit like they did. Yeah, I'm gonna do something.
Which, if you ever think to yourself, I'm gonna do some Ted Bundy shit,
I'm gonna do some Ted Bundy shit.
Don't.
Yeah.
Just don't. Just.
He's Bundy-esque.
Nip that in the bud.
He's Bundy-esque.
That leads nowhere good.
Yeah.
That leads to fucking severed heads.
Yeah.
Okay? That's what that leads to.
That dude was fucking... had severed heads in his house and was fucking buggering them. And leaving them up on the fucking... leaving them up on the fucking mantles.
You can't bugger a severed head.
Okay, we know what I'm talking about. He was going oral on that
It's
thing.
anatomically impossible.
Then,
severed heads don't have a butthole.
Yeah. You know what I'm talking about.
It was funny the way you said it, though.
He put him up on the fucking...
But you know me, I'm very pedantic, like, as far as...
you don't take liberties with language. I'm just taking liberties with shit.
No, words mean things.
They mean whatever I want them to mean.
Words mean...
I'm just painting a picture, okay? It's like anal, but it's the only hole available. But then he took he'd take the head. You wouldn't be interested in that. He would take the head and put those up on the mantle over the fireplace and yell at them.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, he was not a sane dude.
That's how much of a freak.
That dude was fucking weird, yeah.
That dude was.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, the more you're saying that,
yeah,
the more this guy, allegedly, is giving me Ted Bundy kind of...
That's what I'm saying, yeah. I think that's all it is.
Yeah. Maybe
He just wasn't as good as Ted Bundy. Ted did it for a lot longer. Got a lot more
of a long time. But, and then
Ted Bundy wannabe.
Phantom said maybe he wanted to not get caught and write a book about the unsolved murders he committed.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe it was just that. I mean, it could have been. Like I said, I don't think he picked them at random.
Yeah.
I think he picked them for a reason. But like you said, he might have had some other... Now I'm kind of wondering, because sometimes you get those people... Well, a lot of serial killers are like this, where they think they're smarter than the police.
Yeah.
Which they're not, because the cops have seen all of that before. Like, some cops are dumb. I'm not saying that. But, like, generally people that have investigated murderers and shit for a long time, they know all your games, okay? You're not fooling them. So, you know, you're not a fucking criminal mastermind or a fucking genius or anything. But now I'm kind of wondering, since he was so into criminology, maybe he's just kind of like, he wanted to see if he could do it and get away with it.
I think you're reading into it too much.
Maybe though.
I think he wanted those girls. He wanted to hang out.
Well,
with
no,
those girls,
it could be both
them.
things. I'm just saying it could be both things. He just chose them because he was into them, but he's just like, I just want to see if I can get
I think he was just a dude like Ted Bundy.
Yeah.
Just that he didn't have the time or the sexual prowess to actually do what he really wanted to do. He sometimes those dudes won't do it. They'll kill. They want to have sex with them, but they won't actually do it. They'll kill them a lot of times because they're embarrassed.
Yeah.
They're embarrassed that she might laugh at him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or she won't be impressed with him when that shit happens. So he's kind of like guarded. He doesn't want her to see his pecker.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So he kills her. That's all it is.
And then has sex with her.
And then might have sex because she can't look at him.
She can't look at him.
And she can't judge him. You're right.
Well, I feel like that's pretty common. I mean,
yeah.
Have you ever heard that phrase? I can't remember who said it. Shit. It might have been the woman who wrote Handmaid's Tale, Margaret Atwood, but I could be wrong. Men are afraid that women will laugh at them, and women are afraid that men will kill them.
Yeah.
And that is absolutely true. But yeah, I do kind of feel like, I mean, look at the fucking, well, we were talking about earlier, look at the fucking Golden State Killer and his little bitty weenie.
Yeah. And that was a ferocious motherfucker, but he was overcompensating.
Yeah, there's always a reason, and it's usually like a sexual inadequacy kind of reason, or some kind of inadequacy, and it's usually tied to sexuality, especially in a serial killer.
Yeah, they called him the original Night Stalker, what they called him.
Yeah. Well, now they call him Golden State Killer, which is it's a better name because it's easier instead of confusing him with Richard Ramirez.
His name was D'Angelo, and I called it early on in the show before they caught him, just based on the thing. I said he's military or police, the way he's doing. He was a cop.
Yep.
I think he was military too, wasn't he?
I think he was a veteran, yeah.
Yeah. He was having fucking firefights in the open and fucking getting into people's houses and setting a kill zone and fucking clearing out all their guns so they couldn't fight him. He'd wait for him to come home sometimes. And then take a man and woman. He'd fucking fuck them over both. And playing power games, and then he'd fucking eat out of their refrigerators while they were upstairs. He was mean.
Yeah.
Real mean. Then he built up to killing them.
But
eventually started killing them.
Time.
Yeah, but he was normally just sexually assaulting the woman
to catch him
while the guy was outside waiting. He'd have him fucking kneeling, and he'd put some fucking dishes on top of his head. And he says, "If I hear those dishes
on his back,
on his back," he says, "If I hear those dishes rattle, I'm gonna kill her." So he had a whole fucking way, fucking keeping him under control. But that was his big power thing. And the cops fucking knew he had a tattoo of a bull, wasn't it? Or was it a bulldog?
I thought it was a bulldog.
Okay, one or two. And then and the women said the same thing. He was fucking mean. He had a tattoo and a little dick.
Yeah. Yeah, they all said that.
Yeah,
all the surviving ones.
Yeah. Well, he started killing them later.
But yeah, it's always something like that. They always have some kind of sexual dysfunction or some kind of sexual...
And he nearly got away with it, but then one of his relatives fucking did one of those fucking DNA things, and they had his DNA on record.
To be honest, I never thought they would catch him.
They caught him.
Because it was so long.
Yeah.
And honestly, that family genealogy thing, that has been like... I'm shocked how many unsolved cases they've cleared since they started doing that, since the Golden State Killer thing. Like I said, I'll look up some cases that were in my book originally, and some of them have been solved. Like, some of them haven't been solved, but some of them, at least they've identified the person, like the same way or something like that if they were unidentified. But they have solved some of them.
I want to get my DNA done.
I got mine done a long time ago, at least my matrilineal, because that's all a woman can do. They can just do your maternal DNA. But
what did it come back as?
I did National Geographic, so it wasn't for...
It wasn't by areas.
It wasn't.
Race
It was, but they didn't do like a health assessment, like, oh, you have 80% chance of getting breast cancer. It wasn't like that, because sometimes when you do, I think when you do some of the more commercial ones, like 23andMe or whatever, they'll give you both of those things. They'll give you like your ancestry, and then they'll give you like your health assessment. Like
I want that.
I didn't have that. I just had the ancestry.
Yeah.
I'm from a rare haplogroup. I think it's the U haplogroup or the sub U. I can't remember. Like, it was in the book that they gave me.
If I do that shit, I'll put it on the show. I'll let y'all fucking see my hockey pedigree. We're gonna see how.
Mine was from Turkey.
Turkey? Yeah. Well, some of it was from Turkey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That,
What was the
my
percentage?
mother's side.
What was the percentage?
Well, that was like I said, they were trying to track. This was for National Geographic,
Okay.
so they were trying to track like populations out of Africa.
Yeah.
So mine was like a rare subgroup that had originated in Turkey.
Okay.
Is where mine came from, and then later traveled outward. But that's where mine was from. Like, obviously, everybody came from Africa, if you go back far enough. But
They think. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as far as I know. But
there was another.
At least Homo sapiens.
Yeah, that's the problem. It wasn't just Homo sapiens. There was a bunch of other ones, and they were all crossbreeding. So
Yeah, I think people don't realize how many like hominids there were.
Yeah.
Like running around. There was a whole bunch of different like little offshoot groups.
Yeah, and people don't realize how successful Neanderthal was.
Yeah, they were around for a long time.
Yeah, and how good it was. They were very intelligent.
Well, they were
Had
very
big
well
brains.
adapted to their environment. Also.
It was an abominable snowman. They were fucking
pretty much
Ice Age European thing, and humans crossbred with them. Caucasians carry Neanderthal DNA, but they weren't subhuman though. They were just another kind of human, like the difference between a lion and a tiger.
Texas Ranger said, "Did y'all see him?" I assume he's talking about Joseph Giangelo, climbing around cleaning his cell. No, I did not see that. And then CB said, because it fucked up the husbands that they couldn't stop him hurting their wives. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that would, like, really...
That was part of his power game.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I kind of feel like a lot of dudes like that would have that. They'd be like, haha.
He wanted full spectrum dominance.
You can't do anything to stop it.
Yeah, full spectrum dominance. I'm more of a man than you. I can come in and take your woman at any time.
Yeah.
And they had a dude saying, oh, man, they had a dude at one of the meetings saying, no man would let that shit happen. And the fucking... D'Angelo was in the crowd and heard that guy say that. He followed that dude home and did it to him and his wife.
Yeah.
That's what kind of man you're... He was fucking brave. Out of all the serial killers, D'Angelo was the bravest one. Scariest one. The bravest one. The most skilled one. He could hang in law enforcement and military circles. He was a badass, but he had fucking problems. Big problems.
Yeah, you could say that.
Yeah. But out of them all, that's the one you didn't want on you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man.
He was probably more dangerous than Kuklinski, and I'm not sure everything Kuklinski said is true.
Yeah, we did a show about Kuklinski. Yeah. Well, he was, like I said, he was a hitman.
He was a mafia hitman.
So he wasn't just going and like...
You wouldn't want him on your ass either, but...
Well, no, but it's just like he usually only went after people that like somebody paid him to go after.
I'd rather have Kuklinski after me because he'd just kill you.
Yeah, exactly.
He would leave your wife alone. Yeah, well, he wasn't there for that,
Yeah, he didn't do it because he got off on it. He did it because that was his job.
Yeah, well, if you made him mad, he'd get off on it. But mostly he just fucking came and killed you as efficiently as he could. But he was pretty good, evidently, and I think he exaggerated some on some of the shit that he said, made certain things up. But I think in general he was a hitman.
Yeah, we did a show.
Probably pretty good at what he was doing.
Yeah, Phantom said I want to get the Iceman film on Blu-ray starring Michael Shannon. That was a really good movie about Kuklinski, by the way. Yeah, it was Michael Shannon played him, and then wasn't Winona Ryder in that?
I don't know.
It wasn't Winona Ryder. Who the fuck am I thinking of? Phantom probably knows. I can't remember. We saw it like a while back. James also said I'm with you. I thought GS the Golden State Killer would go unsolved. Yeah. I thought it would too. I mean, I'm still holding out hope that they'll catch the Zodiac one of these days, but I mean, I'm pretty sure they kind of know who that is.
They know who it is. I think it's that one guy they talked about.
I think it's that guy. But it's like, that's the thing. Like, once they're dead, you can't.
He kind of admitted to being the Zodiac.
Yeah. Yeah, we just saw that documentary the other day. We're like, yeah, that was pretty convincing.
He told his family that it was him.
Yeah. I mean, shit.
As he was dying.
Which, I don't know. I don't put too much stock in, like, deathbed confessions, but all of the other stuff that went along with it, I was just kind of like, that sounds kind of legit.
It had to have been him because he was doing, remember that he was molesting his daughter, wasn't he? Wasn't that his daughter or is this stepdaughter?
No, it was it was stepdaughter or like his girlfriend's kids.
His girlfriend's kids, yeah. Something he was molesting that. And didn't he kill
I think he like drugged her and did
He drugged her and was doing it.
and she didn't find out till later. Like, I think her
later,
brother told her.
Yeah, when they were going off to summer camp as little kids.
Yeah, he would like take them on trips and
Yeah,
stuff.
and didn't he kill her brother or something? He killed a family member, I think, didn't he? Did he kill somebody and hit it? And they were pretty sure
They
he
were
did it.
with him.
When
the
he
two
killed,
kids when he killed
when
where
he
they
killed-
think
Yeah,
when he did the
that's right. He had the kids with him when he killed that couple.
the Domingos and Edwards murder.
Yeah.
That that was like a possible Zodiac.
It's like
they
the
weren't
first
really sure.
one, yeah.
But the one on the beach.
Yeah.
And those two, they said when we were kids, we remember him parking the car like up on that beach, like when that happened, and like him saying like sit in the car. Mm-hmm. And then when he came back, like he was all sweaty and like freaking out and stuff. But yeah, it was good. I think that was on Netflix, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I can't remember the name of it, but it was just kind of like.
I'm pretty sure that was him. That family.
It sounded pretty convincing.
The family members thought that it was him.
Yeah. And he did like say to the.
Basically admitted it.
He did admit it.
Later on, towards the end
because they
of
were
his
kind of
life.
suspicious after a while. They're like, "Is that you?" And at first, I think he kind of denied it, but then he was like, "Yeah."
I also want to do a show on the dude that had his two boys on the boat with him. Remember, he killed the mom, and then they had a boat, and then they had the British couple, and he fucking tied them up and threw them overboard in front of the sons.
Yeah, I kind of remember that.
That dude, and he lived a long time. That the boys finally went to the cops about him when he was an old man. They locked his ass up.
I always kind of wonder, like, how many people just get away with shit.
Yeah, he was a serial killer. He killed his wife, but kept the two boys and raised them. And he was killing people when the boys knew about it. Wow.
I can't imagine.
And he thought he was a gangster, a real tough guy. He'd come up with these weird schemes and fucking kill people and, and steal their money and shit like that.
I can't remember that.
But he made sure to rape the women and shit a lot of times.
Gotta make sure to do that.
Yeah, he did weird shit.
Man, I don't want to talk too much about it because I might want to do a show about it. I think I put it in one of the polls that's coming up. But I saw one of the true crime shows I was watching last. I had actually never heard of this case. The show's called Hometown Homicide, so they always do like these cases that happen in these little bitty, usually Midwestern, but sometimes it's, Oregon or something, like tiny, tiny little rural communities. And it's every single time people are like, everybody knows everybody. There's only 500 people live here. Nobody locks their doors, blah, blah, blah. And then some horrible murder happens there. So it's all shit like that. So there's this one case where this older woman gets abducted, and then the husband gets ransom demands, but there's a whole weird thing about the kidnapper and like asking for money, but then like they won't tell him where they want him to drop it, and it's like they're doing this weird accent that is clearly fake.
Yeah.
And all this other kind. And then he starts calling and sending letters to everybody else in town. It's this whole fucking weird situation. And I was watching it. Like I said, I don't want to spoil it because I want to do a show about it one of these days. So I'm not even going to say what the victim's name is. But this was one of those things where, because I watch a lot of the shows and pretty much you can be like, yeah, it's probably that motherfucker. But this one, I had no idea what was coming. And when they said who did it, I literally gasped. You know what I mean? I was like, what? Yeah. I was flipped out. So I was just kind of like, that is a weird case. I can't even remember what state it took place in. But like I said, it was somewhere like, it was Tennessee or somewhere. I can't remember where it was. It was Tennessee or... no. I don't know. I don't know where it was. Wisconsin? I don't remember where it was. But it was fucking weird. It was fucking weird.
Mm. All right. Well, it looks like we're towards the end of the show anyway.
Yes, we are.
Been going on for 2 hours.
Yeah.
So it's been a good show.
I thought, like I said, we kind of stayed on topic. I'm kind of proud of us.
Yeah.
For a change. But yeah, so like I said, that's where it's at right now. I read all the newest shit about it. Like I said, most of the new shit, I saw an article that just came out like a day or two ago, and all they're talking about now is just like the defense and prosecution arguing about what should be allowed and stuff. So it's like nothing new has come out recently. The most recent thing that was new that came out was about that home invasion that happened in 2021 that was kind of similar, but they don't know if that was him or not, because that dude was at least described as much shorter. So they don't know if that was connected or not. But I'm kind of curious. I'll be following along with this. I'm kind of curious to see where this goes. And it's going to be a long time before he goes to trial. So I guess he'll just be sitting in jail, waiting until August. And then maybe get the death penalty.
They got to give that dude the death penalty.
Well, that's what they're going for.
Yeah, he's gonna get it.
Probably.
Yeah.
He's the one that did it. We'll
Yeah.
see how it comes out.
Yeah.
But like I said, I'll be keeping track of it.
All right, Jan, shut it down. We'll be back fucking Friday
Yes.
for
the sidetrack
show.
And we're not going out Friday night, so
Yeah,
we can just drink and hang out.
We'll drink and hang out with you.
Not be in a rush.
Yeah.
Because I feel like the last show was kind of like we were only on for like an hour.
Yeah,
or
it was
something.
funny. It was funny. Sidetracks is kind of more popular than this show now.
Well,
When you look at the fucking super chats.
I mean, I like doing this
Yeah.
show and the movie review and stuff,
Yeah.
but like it is a lot less stressful doing the sidetrack
Yeah.
show because I don't have to do any preparation beforehand.
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about.
It's kind of like Open Lines Friday. We can talk about anything you guys want to talk about.
Yeah. So it's just kind of fun. We can just go
Right.
off on a bunch of tangents and not worry about. Oh no, I need to be talking about this. I need to get back to the topic somehow. But yeah, I think we stayed on topic this time, and that's really good. But yeah, so all right. So thank you everybody for dropping by this evening. Hopefully you enjoyed the show. And we will be back again on Friday night for Sidetracks. So have a good night. Thank you all for hanging out, and thank you for your super chats. And we'll see you again on Friday night.